floor. Go and conquer the day like a warrior, like warriors. Cause that's what a tribe does. We got your back so you can relax and focus on all the important stuff, like getting your business done. This is our tribe. We look out for each other. That's right, that's right. This is our tribe. We help each other grow in business and life. That's right, that's right. No need to panic anymore. We got lots of support and an army of warriors by our side. We fight the good fight when we unite. We fight the good fight when we unite. Cause that's what a tribe does. We got your back so you can relax and focus on all the important stuff, like getting your business done. This is our tribe. We look out for each other. That's right, that's right. This is our tribe. We help each other grow in business and life. That's right, that's right. This
Hey everybody, my name is Sondra Ray, and I am the host of the Coffee Chat show for Explore ProTech, and I am here with the amazing gentleman today to talk about funding your business when there's no funds available, and how in the world do you do that? We did change the topic for today, so I apologize for that. We had to move around people for guest purposes. But I'm grateful everybody is here. Good evening, sirs. How are you guys?
I'm good, thank you, Sondra. And how are you?
I'm good. A lot of scrambling, but we got it done. That's what matters. We are here. We are here. We are here. We are here. That is what matters the most.
Good evening, good evening, good evening.
Good evening, sir.
Evening.
So bootstrapping basically means that you are figuring how to build your business without money. Literally. That's my definition of bootstrapping. So how are you going to pull those resources? How are you going to launch your business or keep your business going? A few ways that I've done it. I'm in year 5 now. So no, I've not had investors. I haven't had loans. My funding has been me, myself, and I, and clients. So I can honestly say that, the third piece of mine is that I am fortunate to have good personal credit, so I qualified for business credit. So I can honestly say that has been a lot of my journey has been business credit. Not necessarily the greatest way of doing things, but it has kept me afloat, and slowly but surely I'm paying that off and making sure that I don't add to it. So the other ways that I got my business going is by energy exchanges or barters, depending on what you want to call it. Interns. I was an intern at one point in my business, and I've had interns in my business. Some other ways are to testimonials. So I've had people come and do testimonials. So they've come and took care of or tested my services for me, beta testers, testimonials, given testimonials for that. I've had that quite a few times for different services. And that counts because the testimonials help show that your business, that your processes are working for people, and that can lead to clients for sure. I also, speaking and being out there in the speaking world also helps bring in clients because you're putting yourself in front of audiences that don't know you. So I was at a summit last week. I'm doing my workshop this week. So definitely different ways to piece your business together until you have paying clients, or you have investors or loans or Grants is another way to get your business going. I've applied to a few grants, haven't won any, but I've applied to a few. But I know somebody that won a pitch contest last year, and that's floating her business this year. So there's definitely different ways and different avenues. I'll take time, I'll take research, I'll take work. So on your part, added whoever you're involving in that. So I'd love to hear from the gentleman on different ways that you've built your business in one way or the other. Go ahead, Mr. Levy.
Yeah, thanks, Sondra. It's an interesting topic and certainly quite interesting based on what we've just come off in Explore ProTech with this whole, with the entrepreneur program. So a lot of this came up over the 10, 12 weeks that we were involved in it. I'm not the expert at it, but I have experienced when I started a business which was selling product, and then another business in services, both without external funding. So the first one was, so your question was, I think, was how do you bootstrap a business without external funding, if you can? And I love what you said in just now. You said that you did have you make sure your credit rating is good, because then at least you have that opportunity or that option open to you to get business credit. But then you said something very important. You said, and you made sure you paid it off. So I think that's important, And so I'd like to start off with saying, and I'm just going through my journey that I went through in 2001, and started off with, I've still got the check framed on my inner frame on my wall, and it was 6,728 Rand, which converted to dollars, I don't know about then, but now it's probably about 300 and something dollars. So the first thing was to make sure that we had a good business forecast. And I'm talking about the numbers. So yes, I knew the industry. It was in the textile industry. I'd been in it I was 26 years in the textile industry, 17 on my own. So I knew the industry, but the numbers were still an estimate. There's no real surefire pinpoint number that you're going to get to. But you need to have something that you can measure against, or at least helps you track where you are. And so I think that's the first thing, because if you don't know what's going on in your business, sure, even if you get external funding and that, you're going to get into trouble. The other thing was then I started, and you spoke about, we started off really lean. So I think that's the first thing the second thing I can say to people is, you don't have to build this conglomerate or big business from day one. It's a journey. And if you don't have funding, doesn't mean you shouldn't start your business. But then you've got to keep it really lean. And yes, that famous thing, do you want to work on your business, not in it? I'm sure every business owner does. But there comes a time where you just have to work in it. So my partner and I, we did the sales, we did the deliveries, we did the receiving of goods, we did the admin, the accounting. We had accountants, but we did literally everything. The second thing, also in part of keeping it lean, no offices. We worked from my garage. We set it up with the 2 desks. We didn't invite anybody there. Thank God we had to go out and see clients. They didn't have to come see us. And so that was that's the one thing I'd say is really keep it in, because you can let expenses run away with you. And it's those small expenses that add up to a lot. The other thing that we did, the third thing I would like to say is I had to figure out, I had good relationships with my suppliers that I'd built up in the industry, and as well as clients or customers. But they didn't know me and my partner for a while then, until she retired. They didn't really know us when we were on our own. So I learned it's very different. They really enjoyed our services, but we were then part of a bigger operation. And they were honest with me. They said, Stephen, you know, we trust you, you give us great service and everything, but we also have a business to run. And is your business able to support our business in terms of supply? So it's a very real question that was asked, and I understand that. And so I said to them, look, I can give you the service, but I can't give you the terms. That I can't give you 30 or 60 days. I need it COD. And I went to like 4 or 5 about our key suppliers, key customers. And to this day, I'm extremely grateful to them because they agreed. And I said, when we build the business to a point where I can give you terms, I will do so. And yeah, there's something that, as I say, to this day still stands to me because it afforded me cash flow. I then went to my suppliers because in the clothing industry, we were bringing in trims and so on from China. I went to my suppliers and asked them if I could, and built relationships, and I was in China, so some of the funding had to come from myself, is in China, and built relationships with them and asked them, negotiated terms with them, and I got 30 days from them. And I must tell you, a lot of people will tell you even today that, and they asked me then, that they couldn't believe that I got 30-day terms from the guys in China, because generally you've got to pay 50% when you place the order, and then you've got to pay the balance when you get shipped, which means that I would be out of pocket until the stuff was here and delivered to my clients and then paid COD. But I managed to get 30 days from them. So by the time the goods got here, I would be able to supply it. I got paid for it, and then I paid for it. And that's kind of a simple example. And that's how I started the business. And that's how I then ran the business. And we were very fortunate to be able to then, the business self-funded. So the other thing is we kept our overheads low and we kept our expenses low. So don't go and think, oh, I got the business. And because I'm the owner, I'm entitled to draw whatever I want out the business, or the business owes me. The business owes me nothing. Okay. It's up to me to work the business and to make sure that it does work and it's financially sound. So yes, could we draw so? No, we drew as little as we could. My big role in that was to make sure that we took money, the revenue that we received, and put as much back into the business as possible. And when I'm talking about not funding growth or anything, putting it into a business account, so until we have built up 3 to 4 months of overhead costs, and then we could start. And that took a long time. So we really drew minimal out the business. And then the business, yeah, I'm happy to say, was successful. We went for 17 years, and without any overdraft, without any external funding. The overdraft part, a lot of people, even my own accountants, challenged me on it, to say that why using the business's money, use other people as it just probably a habit I was in. And so we had no debt, and the business funded itself. So the business itself was then profitable without any external funding. So grateful to the people that supported me on that, clients and suppliers. Grateful to probably a bit of luck as well. And we worked hard. We worked hard to do that. And eventually, it was, I'm happy to say it was successful. So there are ways of bootstrapping your business. But I think the biggest thing, and also something that I learned from this program that we're on, is, and said it to these amazing young entrepreneurs or aspiring entrepreneurs, start your business slowly, get traction. Start with 4 or 5 clients if you can get there. Start with whatever you can and whatever you can afford. Okay? And slowly it will build up. If you're able to do that, it'll build up. But yes, are there sacrifices that have to be made if you want to bootstrap your business? 100%. If you think you're going to bootstrap it and live the life that you want to, it's not going to happen unless you can generate that money from that revenue from day one, which I don't know. I haven't seen it. I certainly haven't experienced it, and I haven't seen it. So yeah, I think that's what I've got to offer, and it's not easy, but can it be done? I think yes. And in the services industry, what helped me, and it's something I also want to touch on because I learned this when I was in the textile industry, in the services industry where I am now. My biggest saving grace is no debt, because of how we ran the business in the product industry, is to be able to step into this services industry with no debt. And if you can have a business, debt can be look, there's not many businesses, I suppose, that can run without debt, but debt can be a killer if you let it run away with you. You have to monitor it, and that's why I loved what you said, is you had business credit, but you made sure you paid it back. And you want to make sure every month that you pay it back. Otherwise, it can run away with you before you even know it, and it can come and hit you in the back of the head. You won't even know. And that I experienced before. I told this story, but I won't tell it again tonight. They know, with my brother and I. So we did exactly that. We ran our business where we thought it was in 5 years' time, in year 1. It doesn't work.
I love that, Mr. Levy. I think the biggest thing there is to know your numbers, like know what you have coming in and what you have going out, for sure. No money doesn't mean you can't start. I think those are the 2 biggest things there. And that's what people are saying on the YouTube show too. Mr. L, come on in.
Hi, good evening, Sondra, Hendrick, Mr. Levy, and everyone watching on YouTube. I think I just want to maybe clarify something, and if I'm wrong, I've got people around me that'll correct me. We are not saying you don't have to start a business if you cannot self-fund it or something. It depends on the business that you're going to start for you to know whether you need credit or you don't. I think the warning that we're coming with is, don't just run for credit, even where you can manage to start your business off slowly and grow it over the years. As Mr. Levy was saying just now, you don't want to start your business now and live a fleshy lifestyle. You've got to know what you're building towards. So for me, bootstrapping, if you want to start your business without any funding, it's going to start with the relationships that you have. If you've got good relationships with people that can assist, and assisting, I don't mean financially, but that people that can give you ideas on how to do it, then you are on the very first step of getting into your business. How do you talk to people? Who do you talk to? Who do you surround yourself with? That for me is very, very important. Um, and your business plan has got to tell where you want to go. If you are saying, this is what I want to achieve, or this is where I want my business to be in the next 5 years, but where do you start? What do you start with? Mr. Levy, you spoke about the Chinese friends, and there's a project that I'm on now where, yes, we're starting a business. It's going to be a huge business, but we're starting it without any funding. If you had to ask me now, I would tell you I do not have much in my account at the moment, but we're going to get a factory built, and we're going to get machinery into the factory, equipment to the factory, and people are going to start working. How are we doing it? Relationships that we have. The Chinese are going to build the factory here in South Africa. They will own it for 10 years. And after 10 years, they will decide whether they start to rent it, or are they picking and going where we would have, or they would have trained our people on how to produce what we want them to produce. So we don't have money. But then, because we've got good relationships with people outside, let's use the relationships that we have to start this. It will pay them off. It'll pay their investment off, because they are the ones with money. They can invest. We do not have money to build a factory, bring in equipment, and train people. They do. And the product is theirs as well. So let them bring it in. And I think ultimately what we're trying to do is we want to upskill our people. We want to empower our people so they can own the business at the end of the day. So for me, it's not it's not my business, it's not our business, it's the community business. And that is why I think from the business plan, when the Chinese saw, okay, so we're not doing it to enrich ourselves, but we are doing it to empower members of the community. That's how they agreed. So the business plan helped to say, this is the idea, this is our vision, this is where we want the business to go. So that helped us very, very much. And Sondra, did you mention collaboration? Collaborating with other businesses to make sure that you get your business started off without a lot of funding. There's also bartering. You give your services, and then they give you what you need. I do that a lot where I am now. I do a lot of bartering because we don't have funding. But if we can barter for us to be out there to be seen, we do that. The last one, I think you mentioned grants as well. Sponsorships, which are for me, sponsorships, I don't trust them. I don't trust sponsorships. But anyway, that's a topic for another day, and maybe somebody can allude to that. But start your business. Make sure that when you run your business, and Mr. Levy, you are quite clever with it, you didn't go out and spend the company money, to entertain yourself or to entertain people. You understood business money is business money. The business, as you said, doesn't owe you. You actually owe the business a service, not the business owing you. So for me, that is bootstrapping. Make sure that you keep bootstrapping is not only when you start, it's also as you run the business. How do you tie, as they say, what do they say, a belt around your waist to make sure that you don't splurge? How do you manage your finances as you grow? Because you want to build your business. You want to put money back into the business as you grow it, Your business cannot grow without you intentionally growing it by bootstrapping. That's Lesetja Mokou from Litmok, your business development agents.
I love that. I love that. True, very true, especially the growth part. Growing doesn't mean you necessarily can go out and splurge. You don't need the newest, finest anything just because you're growing. Usually growing means you're investing back into the business, at least in the industries I've seen. It's because they've put the money back in the business, and that's how their growth has happened. For sure, 100%. Go ahead, Mr. Levy.
So, yeah, well, thanks for that, Lesetja. And yeah, I think it's true, and all the best with what you're doing and the way you're doing it. Really, it's fabulous. And there's something that I wrote down as you were speaking about I'm going to call them partners, because they're not funding your business, they're coming with you into your business. And as you were chatting about it, we alluded to in both our stories about relationships. And then I added one word onto that, trust. Yeah. And yes, you can put a great business plan down, and it's got to be sort of realistic, and people will pick that up, especially investors, whether it is or not. But I think, not just for it first got to be realistic to you, because if it's not, then you're only kidding yourself. And then if it's not realistic to you, why would you expect anybody else to invest in it? Why should it be realistic to them? So it's got to have some form of realism in it. Then the other thing is, I think that when you start with that mindset, in terms of the business funding itself or investing back in your business, the business funding itself, or getting to a point where it's funded, because it is an ongoing journey. And as you grow, you might need investment. And the best place to start looking is within yourself or your business, because then you don't owe anybody anything. So the thing that came for me is it's a habit. And a habit and a discipline. It's a mindset. And once you get into that, it's tough. But once you get into that habit, it kind of sticks. So if I can just elaborate on that, or expand on what Lesetja said. And I'd said earlier, I was challenged a lot of times by my own accountants. Say, Stephen, take your money and just invest this, and I can secure it against the bank will lend me money. It was maybe the reason why, but because I was in the habit of funding the business because I had to, through the means that I said, with these wonderful clients and suppliers that I'm so grateful to. When the time came where the business was making money and they said investors, it was just for me to know, because I'd felt what it's like not to owe other people money. And it's funny how that still comes to me today, even in like small things. It's just a habit. I hate owing people money. Yeah. So I think what Lesetja was saying, and just explaining, you create that discipline, and it's a good discipline to have. Even your business is making money. Just be careful, because things can change very quickly.
I agree, Mr. Levy. Nobody has a crystal ball, so nobody knows what the future is going to bring. So that's why I remember you saying, 3 to 4 months reserve, so that you can have that to fall back if the economy changes. And we all know the economy is going to change. That's the inevitable. There's one thing certain in life: change. There's always change coming. So definitely for sure, making sure that you have the reserve and that you have a way to not go into debt, and I don't always say debt is bad because sometimes you need a little bit, you just can't miss it because of something that's happened in your life. But the sooner you can get out of it, the better and the faster you can get back on your own 2 feet. And I'm the same. I don't like to owe people money. So I 100% agree with that. And I think the live audience is talking about, start small, grow your business slowly, so that you can build those relationships and build that trust with not only your suppliers and your customers, but the communities you're in. So if people can trust you in the community, I know that's one thing we have in Explore ProTech. A lot of us trust each other because we've been around each other for several years and we've gotten to know each other. So I know that's invaluable because, on those hard days, we can go to those people and be like, hey, this just isn't working out. Like, help me figure this out. Help me get out of this negative mindset, or help me. And it usually isn't about money. It's usually about, just talking through the issues or brainstorming new ways. I know Nisty and I were doing that last week, and just having somebody else to help you think outside the box. I do tell that in my coaching clients. I say, I always think outside the box, because a lot of people don't think of barters and collaborations and things like that as a way to grow your business, but it's a very easy, it's a two-way street. So, and you definitely have to I always say, put policies and things in place so that you don't get burnt. Because yes, I've gotten burnt a couple of times. So I have policies and contracts for everything, and everybody's like, oh, it's just a barter. What's the big deal? And I'm just like, because it's a two-way street and you're both supposed to get something out of it. So if it's not working that way, then somebody's left hanging. So for sure, having that too. And same thing with interns and stuff, that I rather just have those things in place just for my own peace of mind and know, okay, this is what they're doing, this is what I'm doing. So communication, I think, is the other thing, especially if you owe people money. Communicate, like, hey, it's been a bad month. Can we do X, Y, and Z? Or I'm willing to do 5% or 10% now if you can give me another 30 days or something. Being honest with that beforehand and still after the fact of, oh, I didn't pay you, I don't have the money. Well, can you give me some grace? Well, no, come to me before it was due, so I can give you the grace before it was due. For sure, for sure. Come on, Mr. Al.
So I don't think it'll be a question. It is maybe just an inquiring statement. Do you start your business from outside investors and try and grow it without input from them? That is, starting off with a bit of investment from outside, but when you grow it, as Sondra, you paid your debt back. So when you grow your business, then you grow it without input from any other person. So, like, just to kick you off, you've got that financial injection, and then going on, you don't need it anymore. You pay it back, and then you carry on without the external sources. Would that be something that could be considered?
Yeah, I think having an investor, but also knowing what the investor wants out of it. So is it they just want their money back and they don't want any input, or do they want input? Or I have a friend that's done that. Like, she gives them 10% of the business, or 10% of the business as it grows and stuff like that. And I was like, I don't know if I want somebody to have 10% of my business. Like, that is that's not my cup of tea, but that was how she's a tech company, and she just needed investors to get the tech part of it up. And I understood why she was doing it. But yeah, for me, I was like, yeah, I don't know. If I'm going to be my own business owner, I want to have my own say in my own business. So, but I think if you can get an investor who's like, hey, once you pay it back, we're done. You don't owe me anything. I don't owe you anything. Then yeah, that's fine. But just make sure, one, you have it in writing. Two, that the agreement is that once you pay it back, they're cut out of the business, for lack of a better word, so that you don't have strings. You get all those strings and then they turn into this cobweb and this crazy mess, and then you're like, I don't know who I owe where, what, when, and how, and who gets to come and say what, and things like that. So you just have to be really careful. And again, putting things in writing is super important. Come on in, Mr. Levy.
Yeah, it was a fascinating question and a good, interesting one. So I think the first thing is, yes, you might need a cash injection to kickstart the business, and why not? So my answer to your question, Lesetja, would be very sure that why you want an investor, and actually be more sure why you want the investor than what the investor wants, because you will find then you will at least be attracting or speaking to the right investors. So be very firm in and clear in what you want the investor for. And there are people out there that will lend you money not for nothing. They will want a return on it. They're going to lend it to you for 6 months or for whatever the period is, because they are taking a risk. So they want a return from it. Otherwise, I suppose they can just put it in the bank or a really low risk savings account. And then to pay it off and then coming to what Sondra said earlier, somebody said communication, because it might not go every month according to plan. But if you don't communicate it, that's when the so-called awful will hit the fan, okay? And that's where you'll destroy a relationship, is through your silence. So if it's not going according to plan, speak to them. You have to communicate with them and say, this month we can't, and so on. I think a lot of those kind of investors are very aware that, you actually even said, we've got to have a plan for your business. There's no guarantee that your business is going to do that every month. And I'm sure that anybody investing in a business in whatever format is aware of that. So it's just, I think it's that communication that builds up the trust and relationship. And I think those people are out there, but you've got to show them a good plan as well, and a realistic one. I think it can be done. You're doing it. You're doing it now, but on a bigger scale.
Yeah, for sure, Mr. Levy. Devin was talking about in the live chat about, having a good lawyer or a good legal resource in your pocket so that you know your rights. I know in the US we have the Small Business Association, and they do offer startups and continuing businesses, and they have a lot of free resources, and including legal resources. So knowing your legal rights as a business owner and investors coming in or employees or so on and so forth. There's a lot of communities and resources you can tap into to make sure you're doing things correctly. And my other thing is that if friends invest, still put it on paper. Family invest, still put it on paper. I made a choice early in my business to not go after a very, 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 very dear friend, and just decided not to do business anymore, and that friendship over business, and ate the cost and moved on. But a lot of people can't do that. They need the money, or they need to get the money, and so on and so forth. And it was a very costly decision, but I just, in my own heart, I was like, okay, business, relationship over business. And it sucked, I can honestly say, but it was something that I knew in my heart that I had to live with. So definitely, even if, I don't know, your father-in-law, your grandparents, or somebody wants to invest in you, still put things in writing, just so, like Mr. Levy said, communication, so that you can say, hey, this is what I'm using the money for, or if you're expecting payment back, this is what I'm going to do. Because you don't want to tear apart relationships because of your business. So I guess that's where I'm going with that. Mr. L, come on in.
All right. What I'm going to say may tie to what was said earlier. So for me, the other way of doing it would be through a joint venture. If I've got what Hendrick needs to start his business and he's got what I need for me to carry on, why don't we join forces together? But then their agreement, what Devon is talking about, getting a good lawyer, drafting all the legal papers and agreements and all to make sure that you are going to get a fair share of whatever is happening in your business, whether you're making profits or whether you're making losses, you're getting a fair share. So for me, yes, you can start without funding through a joint venture. You've got what I need, I've got what you need, and let's just start it off as long as we've got MOUs and business plans and all that to make sure that as the business grows, Sondra, you mentioned relationships with friends and all that, so that those relationships do not sour up because of expectations from the joint venture itself.
Yes, for sure. For sure. Joint ventures is definitely a good way to go. And I've seen those written up in a very legal way, but yet, it's still a win-win for both people. I think that's the biggest thing. Is it a win-win for both sides? And yeah. And then of course the trust part comes into that. Come on in, Mr. Levy.
I think this conversation. I think first of all the win-win, and Sondra, you mentioned earlier about a one-way street. If it's not a win-win, it'll never work. And there's got to be something in it for everybody. It's got to be fair. And then in answer to Devon's statement that he made, yes, you need to have contracts drawn up, probably especially if you're going to have friends or family, not only, but especially. Because I've seen it, money is a funny thing. It's amazing what it can do to friendships and family. And I've seen it. So actually I haven't experienced it, but I've seen it. And I think it's like it's like a marriage, isn't it? When you go to your attorney to get married and you got to draw up all these contracts, and then they ask you that question, and what do you want to do in case of divorce, and you haven't even got married yet, you're still on flipping honeymoon, and it's like, divorce? What? Yeah. And something I learned from in business was draw up the contract, make sure it's fair to everybody if the worst happens, and then hopefully you put the contract in the drawer and you won't have to take it out again. But when it does go pear-shaped, okay, and you do bring it out, at least it removes all emotions. And it's something that we all agree to, because otherwise it can really be a mess, an absolute disaster on a relationship and then on the business itself. So yeah, just like in a marriage, you're married to your business. Draw up a contract, and anybody else that wants to come and join the relationship, you need to have those contracts in place. So yeah, it was a good point that Devon brought up.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. And I know, like I had, it was a legal community and she sold contracts. So I got it, like I paid the one-time fee. It was an investment to pay a one-time fee to have a contract that I could use over and over and over. So, and like in the US, contracts are based out of where the business is. So I go by Michigan laws, no matter where the other part of the contract person is, it goes by the place I live in. the state I live in, which in the US, that makes a difference because every state has very different laws. And there's some states that have great laws that support small business, and there's some states that don't. So knowing I think that's a thing, knowing the laws and regulations of your state or country or both, so that you are structuring your business appropriately and legally will help. And that relates to funding, because then that will also factor into your funding, whether it's you investing in getting the right proper legal things done, or if you have a conflict and have to go to court or anything else. I know a lot of the payout systems, PayPal, Stripe, all those have changed a lot of their rules and regulations based on where they're based out of and how they process your money and so on and so forth, and what they report. So in the US, PayPal reports for you certain things. And so you can't really hide, I guess, for lack of a better word. Not that you should hide, but when other systems are reporting your income and stuff, then that definitely keeps you up and up. Hendrick, do you have anything to say about bootstrapping or funding or anything like that? You always have a different perspective.
Good evening, everyone. I think most of the points that I've learned actually today, it's with regards to also discipline. I'm just not sure if it was Mr. Lesetja or Mr. Levy who spoke about discipline. Discipline in business is very important in the sense that when you cannot control your emotions or your urge to spend on your money or the company's money, it becomes a problem because you end up spending money even before the project is done. I've seen a lot of businesses go down just because the owners decided to say we were awarded a contract worth 10 million, for example, and then they decided to calculate the profits before even the project took off. So along the way, you start seeing that things are not as you would have expected. So it's very important to be disciplined, be able to control your temptations with regards to the money and everything else in the business actually needs to be as per the agreement. I think also that answers the question or the statement that was made as to the importance of going into partnerships with people. Look, when we start business, there's an element of risk if someone is investing in your business. There's a very huge, if someone is investing in your business, they are taking a very big step because there's that potential that they will not get their returns back. So if the agreement is to say, I'll give you X amount of money for certain percentage, you need to honor that. Yes, you can come and renegotiate terms at a later stage and say, okay, I've paid you off and maybe I'd like to get back the X amount of shares that I gave to you at an early age or at the early stage of the business. How much are you willing to let them go for? And then you negotiate those, because the most important commodity in business, it's relationships. The relationships that you build along the way, either with your clients, with people that you're starting the business with, people who are willing to take the risk and go through this journey with you, knowing that there are risks and there's a possibility that they will not get their returns back. It's very important to honor those relationships, and everything else will fall into place. It's definitely not going to happen overnight. That's one thing that we also need to know. There's a lot of corners we cut in everything we do, but unfortunately in business, there are no corners to cut.
I love that. I love that, Hendrick. And yes, like you said, if somebody buys shares into your business in the beginning, you always have that right to go renegotiate that towards the end. Well, we are almost at the top of the hour. I am super, super grateful for all the gentlemen helping me today talk about this very important topic. It's very important to think about how you're going to fund your business from the get-go. And like we said, you can do that without money. You just have to know how to build those relationships and build trust and have a good structure and everything else in between. So like Mrs. Steen, or one of our co-founders says, we wish you have the best entrepreneur dreams.